The Mile End Road is quite a brutal place. It's a very, you know, we all know them in London, those traffic places, you know, that just streams of traffic. But this place has got the possibility where you could actually create something that beckons people in. When I obviously grew up in Manchester, and when I moved to London, I lived in this area. I lived in Ennerdale House, which is the tower block over there that overlooks the hospital. And I remember, this is like 30 years ago, and I remember looking out of it, and the hospital was still working then, you know, so I remember looking out and seeing it operating, and it was always an intriguing place, especially for a film director, because you think, oh, it must be, surely we could film in there. And I remember looking, we did a sequence, there's a sequence at the end of 28 Days Later, actually, that's set in a disused hospital. And we did consider this, though we never got in to actually look at it as a location. And we looked at in Hackney as well, and we eventually used somewhere in Greenwich. So then I came along to look at it, and it felt very much like a kind of way of keeping that spirit going that we'd established at the opening ceremony. And it felt like a kind of like satellite that was possible that you can affect the way things are perceived. In the Olympics, it was like the way we perceived our country and the way we perceived our values, and that was lovely. And here, I think it's the way that you perceive this community, how it needs a focal point, and how you perceive this brutal road out there. You have to be so careful when you talk about these things, because people's lives, you know, the Olympics thing was a celebration, a particular moment, and people's lives are tough, you know, and you can't kind of plaster over it a veneer of optimism. You hope it inspires people, but they have their own individual struggles to undertake, and that's, you know, we feel very much like an absolute manifestation of the legacy, which a lot of people talk about the Olympics. This would be a little, very nice expression of it. Well, there's too many Danny Boyle films, but that's because I'm very local. I can get the films for free, and I'll turn up for the Q&As. We've got With Nell and I, which is obviously a classic of any film festival. Every film festival shall feature With Nell and I. And we've got a number of other films. We've got Jo Cornish's film Attack the Block, which I loved. I love that movie. We're showing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is one of the great classics and one of the great films of all time. And we're finishing with Elephant Man, which is again, a local film. David Lynch made it very, 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 very close by. Like, we've got a Julian Temple film, London Babylon, which is an amazing film, which I don't think a lot of people got to see. That's a wonderful opportunity to see an extraordinary film, you know, chronicling our city. And no, but we're showing a film that's not been shown very much, which I can't mention the name of, and don't want to mention the name of, but it's a short film which we made together like 15 years ago, and it's never really been screened. It's like a 30-minute film. So hopefully people can come along, and that'll be an extra special treat for people if they're interested in. It's had one screening in a 14-seat cinema in Swansea, I think it was. Yeah. Oh no, I think it's a wonderful thing. I was in New York recently, and they were screening films in the parks there. Yeah. You know, and inevitably you lose some quality of sound or picture quality or everything, but the compensation you get for a sense of community, you know, people gathering together, having a drink and watching a film together is fantastic. It does make you see a film differently, you know, so I think that's a lovely thing here. And we've got an indoor screen and we've got an outdoor screen, thanks to Time Out. Anxious in a healthy way, approaching a sequel to Trainspotting, yeah. But that's it, and I mean by healthy is that it puts you on your toes, you know, you have a real responsibility in kind of going back to those characters to do it really well. What's extraordinary about the film, I think, is that people remember the characters' names. You never do that in movies. You remember the actors who played the characters, but you don't really remember whether they were called Jack or Paul or, you know, it's just like, I mean, occasionally you might remember one name. People remember Sick Boy, Spud, Renton, Begbie, all these names they remember, you know? And that, I think, shows that those actors have made a connection with the public that we're going to take the opportunity to try and follow up that, that's all.